Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon. First off, it's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it and it'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m., of course. Come on, we just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn, do you all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what we're on. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure, because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, may have to yell loud or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome into another exciting episode of Pete versus Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. My guest today is an award-winning psychologist and author specializing in overthinking and negative self-talk. Her upcoming book, Unkind Mind. Please welcome in Betsy Holmberg. How you doing, Betsy?
Oh, I'm great. It's nice to see you, Pete. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. I'm so glad you're here because, like we discussed before we hit record, that self-talk is not talked about a lot. Like, people do it all the time. You always see people have internal dialogue and things and always talking negative to themselves, and it's a very interesting topic, honestly.
Yeah. I got into it because my self-talk was so nasty that I had to figure out a way to stop it and try to heal from a rough situation, a divorce, and, custody stuff. And so mine just got so dark that I had to understand what it was. And so I went back into the literature to see what neuroscience has shown us. We've had so many advancements in the last 20 years, and what I learned absolutely blew my mind. And so that's where I went, wrote the book. New Harbinger picked it up, and we're releasing it June 1st, and it's time to share it with the world.
Yeah, that's so exciting. It's so exciting when you write a book and it's like it's picked up. It's ready to come, the anticipation of it coming out, because now people are going to see everything you put all your hard work into, and then the feedback that comes back with it. It's just going to be overwhelming, I'm sure. It sounds like it's going to be great, honestly. I can't wait to read it, honestly.
Cool.
So, but anyway, so what got you? Because so as you said, the bad divorce, everything else, your own self-talk is what got you into the whole subject of just negative talk itself, and people overthinking things, which that we all overthink a lot of things a lot of times. With anxiety, a lot of times that's what happens too. Your mind starts racing, you start overthinking things, and start like, oh no, well, what if this, and then you start talking about, oh, well, I wonder if, and you start coming with these crazy ideas that probably not even close to happening and things like that. So as soon as I saw that topic, I'm like, I got to have it for the show. We got to talk about this stuff.
That's awesome. And the thing with self-talk that's so annoying is everyone will tell you, like in every single mental health circle, they're like, don't, like, it's just your thoughts, like, CBT, you fight your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And none of it really clicked for me, because I was like, but this is me, and I'm feeling sad, and I'm feeling worthless, and I am feeling like I'm not good enough. Like, it's really hard to battle yourself. And that seems like totally Herculean, like, Atlas pushing a mountain, a boulder up a mountain. But the neuroscience actually shows us something wildly different. And let me walk you through it quickly so you get a sense, and we can take our questions from there. So first of all, it all feels like it's one thought network. Interestingly, we have two thought networks. The first one is called the central executive network. That sits on the outside of your brain, meaning it's one of the last areas to evolve. As our brain went through this exponential growth and we became the super smart humans that we are today. And these are the thoughts you choose. So when you put your attention like on this conversation or on something you're doing with the podcast, or you put an attention on your friend, you're using your central executive network, thoughts that you choose. We have another thought network, which no one knew about, which is embedded deeper in the brain. So this means it came online evolutionarily far earlier. And where it is in the cortex, funny enough, some scientists even call it the paleocortex, because it's the cortex that was there when we were in our Paleolithic era and we're hunter-gatherers. And what this thought network does is it talks at you. It's automatic. And so this is our inner monologue. This is what we listen to all day long. And what it was meant for is, back then we were living in clans of up to 150 people, let's say. And it looked around at everyone and was like, okay, what are the clan norms? What do I need to be following? What are the rules? What is everyone else doing? I should be doing that too. Like, how is everyone looking? And it essentially got us to be able to live in groups, which is a very cool thing. And it's helped humans become as successful as we are, that we've been able to, combine our resources, divide labor, etc. But this voice, so now it's kind of outward in, if you will. It takes all the norms of the outside and then it compares us to them. And it does it in a very immature way, if you will. So it's not like, here, let me help you get better at whatever it is you're doing. It just says you suck. And it thinks by saying you suck that you'll be like, oh, okay, then now let me see how I can stop sucking so I can, be part of the clan and I will not be kicked out and I won't die. And so this is the voice we've all been listening to. And these two networks are either or networks. So if you either use your central executive network or you listen to your DMN, they can't operate at the same time. And so it means, unless we're choosing to do something, we are actually sitting around and listening to this network. And this network just spirals and spirals and spirals. And if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you're emotional, if something's going on, that spiral will go very negative and very dark, because it's a survival network. It's meant to, keep you from running away from a saber-toothed tiger. It's not meant to be your friend and to help you through life. So
I
that's
find
the
it so
science.
fascinating. I find it so fascinating that we just now figured out that that's there, And I know they always talk about the brain is so much more powerful. You use so much percentage of it. Just like I find it so fascinating. Everything you just said, because that's crazy. Because now it makes sense. So because if you're using that one versus the other one, it's like, okay, and then the fact that we just discovered it, it's like, I wonder what else we don't know now.
Oh,
If you start thinking,
totally.
what I'm saying, it makes you wonder, okay, so what else don't we know about our brain? What else other functions can we do? Is it possible some of these things that you see in movies, like develop psychic powers and ability to read minds, anything? I wonder if that's even possible with the more percentage of the brain use that we would use, though, to get that part of it.
I would love for science. I mean, science is going that way. This telepathy tapes are going bonkos right now online. Everyone's listening to them, in terms of non-speaking autistic individuals having telepathic
Hmm.
abilities and what's different in their brain that enables them to do that. It's taken about 10 years of scientists playing with this. And honestly, it's really stuck in the academic jargon at this point. But
Yeah.
they're showing that if you have a very strong and highly connected DMN, that is major depressive disorder, that's anxiety disorders. So imagine these networks like muscle groups and strength training, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So if you have a very strong DMN, it could look like depression, it could look like anxiety. And meditators and meditation, PS, is just switching from the DMN to the CEN. You know how they say, don't listen to your thoughts, focus on your breath, focus on a chant. The key word is focus. So use
Hmm.
your CEN. And it's pretty much, meditation is just switching you to your CEN. And that shifts the brain away from depression, away from anxiety, and can make people feel a whole lot better. And in the neuroscience literature, their brain structures look so different that they call it, this is a potential new default mode of our brain if we can beef up our CENs really, like, a lot now that we know about them.
You know what I'm saying? That's so fascinating, though. It's just like it's. I just like every time I meet someone new, like I knew there's a reason why I had to have you, and that's exactly right there. Because now you just blew my mind. Because I'm like, man, now I'm gonna have to go dig into this, check this out, because I find it so fascinating, though. That's the things that we're discovering these days versus what we didn't know, and things like that. And a lot of it plays into the self dialogue you have and your anxiety and your depression. and all that other stuff all plays into those same factors too. When you start talking negative to yourself, for all we know, you could be being depressed at that point. You're like, oh, I'm down in the dumps, and and
And it
that's why I always
explains
tell me
it explains so much too,
it
doesn't
does,
it? Like
it
any
does.
like in group and out groups, that is a function of the DMN. Like it
Hmm.
helped us in clans because it's like, oh, this is my clan. And then that is a different clan. So like we need to make sure. So it makes sense evolutionarily, but is this
Yeah,
helping us nowadays? No, we don't need in groups and out groups. We all need to be working together at this point. The
exactly.
other thing it does all the time is it loves to compare you to other people. And it typically compares up. It's like that person is doing better than I am. That person is happier than I am. And it always makes us feel less than. And when we know that that's our proclivity and it's our hardware's proclivity to do that, we can then kind of rise above it. We
Yeah.
can separate from it and be like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to believe this anymore. It belongs in this little area, belongs in a loincloth, and I'm going to send it back there.
That's so great. That's so awesome, though. You think about it, though. The big thing I preach to people is to worry about yourself first. I mean, yes, you can compare yourself to other people, but what's the point? You're two different people. Everybody's different. That's what makes us human. We're all different individuals. And stop worrying about what everyone else is doing and worry about yourself first. Because once you take care of yourself, then everything else gets better for you. Stop
Yeah.
stop complaining and saying, "Hey, well, all these problems are going on in my life." Instead of that, how about look at what you're doing? Maybe something you're doing is causing these problems to happen. And I think a lot of times people don't want to take responsibility of that because then they're like, "Well, no, hey, I messed up. I did this." And in any situation, it's I messed up. Somebody had a part in something here, and then when you get mad at yourself and start talking down to yourself, people don't realize the effects of what that does to you, and you start beating yourself up, and a lot of times they say that we are our harshest critic, and stuff like that. That's why I always tell people, just keep it positive. Whenever you're talking to yourself, just, look at the positives versus the negatives of things, because first off, your mindset will be way better because now you're thinking positive, you're speaking it into fruition. And even if you don't speak it into fruition, you're just talking to yourself, you're just amping yourself up, instead of talking downward to yourself, which you're just going to bring your mood down. And then if you're tired, you're stressed, all those things are going to keep piling on. And if you have anxiety, that's going to pile on too. And it's going to be just one big old dog pile of just a complete mess going on.
So what you're essentially helping people do is to say you're saying it is to say don't listen to your DMN, and instead I want you to choose positive thoughts about yourself, and I want you to say those to yourself to kind of drown out the DMN.
Exactly.
And in doing so, you'll probably help your anxiety and help how you're feeling.
Exactly. And my wife, she taught me something. She's like, whenever your brain starts like kicking up, she said, just shout out real loud, stop. And for whatever reason it works. Like for whatever reason it works. It's the strangest thing I've ever heard. But I'm like, okay. So because sometimes you just hear her just shout stop all of a sudden for no reason. And she's like, then she goes right back to just doing whatever she's doing. Oh, sorry. It's to get my brain back in track. And it's so weird. People may find it weird, but I'm like, try it sometime. It's the simplest things that work so well. You don't have to overcomplicate everything like a lot of people try and do. Oh, hey, I got this method that'll work in 60 seconds or less. Like, no, how about I just tell myself to stop overthinking things and just, jump back into it, and it's weird because all of a sudden I just hear her shouting from the room and I'm like, okay, all right, I already know what she's doing in there, and things like that. So, and it makes me laugh every time too, because it was weird at first. I didn't understand what she was doing. And then she told me, oh yeah, yeah. Sometimes, when your head starts racing, and because my anxiety was really bad when we first met. And that's one of the things she was teaching me is like, just tell it to stop because when you start thinking of things that aren't even true, and your brain starts trying to make up all these stories and these old narratives, and you start writing this whole story in your brain, just shout out, stop really fast. Like, hey, just stop, just stop. And then watch what happens. And it's weird because it just saying that out loud alone just makes your brain refocus. Okay, well, never mind. And
Yeah,
it's
it
it's hard
shuts
for
off
some
your
people.
DMN. It like
Hmm.
she knows what she's doing without doing it. And the thing is we have figured out ways to stop this. It's
Hmm.
just they all tend to have negative repercussions. Like alcohol disrupts the functional connectivity of the DMN. It's why we feel so free and good around other
Hmm.
people when we're drinking. But then because it also like keeps us in line with clan norms, as we drink more alcohol, we may say things we don't want to say. We may do things that aren't great. And so then the next morning we wake up and think, oh shit, what happened? The DMN comes rearing back on. And ultimately, it makes the DMN stronger because it's giving it more of an opportunity to go. And so that's one of the pathways towards alcohol addiction. Cigarettes, stop it. Exercise can stop it, where some people can get to over exercise is when it can get bad. So I mean, the fact that when we start to know about it, then these coping mechanisms lose their power, because we now can choose to turn it off ourselves, just like your wife does by saying stop. I mean, that's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant too. I just didn't really understand it first. And she's taught me so many things, like, different things. And she understands things on a way higher scale than most people realize. Like, she's so into it because she had a lot of trauma herself and things like that. And she's gone through a lot of stuff, man. And you can tell she's the type of person that really went in and dug into looking into her own things and start really researching her and stuff. And that way she's better educated on these things as she's dealing with them as she goes. But it's so fascinating to watch her operate sometimes, because all of a sudden she'll just stop and just start shouting stop. And then you'll just laugh because you know what's going on, but you're the only person there that knows what's going on, and everybody else look at you weird. And you just smile and laugh a little bit and just continue your way. And they all just look at you like, is she good? Yeah, she's good. Don't worry. She's okay.
And what I love about it is she's not sitting there and saying then, oh, I had these negative thoughts. Why did she doesn't beat herself up for having the negative thoughts. Yeah. And she also doesn't try to make meaning of her negative thoughts. Like, oh, does this mean I'm getting depressed? Does this mean I need to change something big in my life? I need to change jobs or like whatever. No, she just says stop. She's like, I'm not going to listen to it. And that is so powerful, because the DMN is going to say anything to you. I mean, it is grabbing at straws. And so to not give it any meaning, that must be very effective for her. That's a super cool method.
And it helps me too when I start overthinking things, because my brain will start firing up and then, going down. And she can almost tell. It's like she has a sixth sense. Like, she can tell that my brain is going on overdrive. And she's like, hey, listen, everything's okay. And she'll just say like that too. It's just weird. So like, it's so weird how like Master Yoda like she is about things. Like, she'll come up to you and just like, I already know what's going on. I can already read the situation in the room, kind of thing. And I'm really good at reading situations too, and things like that. I'm really good at sensing energies and stuff like that as well. Like, I get those like kind of spider sense like feeling, and it's almost like she does too. She can look you in the eyes and she can tell something's wrong. She's like, okay, oh, you're good. You're good. You'll be all right. And she'll start like talking me down off the ledge, not even realizing where I'm at. And it's just so crazy, because it's like, are you reading my thoughts? And but it's great to have that connection with somebody that understands like you on another level, that they can just check in and say, hey, all right, I can see something's going wrong. Let's cut it off before it becomes a major issue. And your brain starts hitting hyperdrive like the Flash and taking off, and you start inventing new ideas and start writing your own story, have your own like Dungeons and Dragons in your brain of how this story's going and things like that. And it's interesting though too, because it's great because she gets it. And at other times it's just like, it trips me out though. So every time she says it just gets me like, I'm like, whoa, hold on. That's impressive there, honestly.
Well, and what's so cool about it is she is your clan. And so to have an interaction with another person that is essentially saying what the DMN is saying is wrong, it's like every piece of feedback that the DMN wants. It's like, okay, I'm in the clan. Okay, I'm safe. Okay, we're all okay here. And so I bet it really helps to,
it does.
Kind of that co-regulation. And that's a lot of what we do in therapy, is provide a place for safe co-regulation with someone, and just give them a place where they can take a deep breath and be like, okay, like this is a safe space and it's a safe little clan. And nowadays our clans are tiny, We've got itty bitty clans, and we've got about 1,000 clans. And I think the DMN struggles a lot with that. We interact in so many environments, and we want to fit into every environment and be special in every environment and whatever it is. And our DMN is like information overload. I can't handle it.
Yeah. And it's funny you say fit in, because I think that's where overthinking comes in a lot of times, because when people try to fit in, their thought process goes to, oh man, are these people like me? These people don't like me. And then you just start running up the list of different things, you're like, am I fitting in? Am I writing the right thing? Things like that. And it's just silly things when you really think about it at the end of the day, how silly it is. You're worried about what everybody else's opinion is about you, when you should really just worry about yourself at the end of the day. You're just you. You're your individual self. That's what makes you you. That's what makes me Pete. That what makes you Betsy. You know what I'm saying? We all have our own individual characteristics. I think people please too much too when it comes to that as well. and things like that.
You know what's so interesting with it too is what kind of blew my mind as I started really trying to process the real life implications of all this is that everyone else is all stuck in their DMNs too. And their DMNs learned whatever it is that came out of their families and their cultural
Hmm.
and social conditioning and their schools and wherever they were. And so we are all in our heads worrying about fitting in, worrying about looking correctly, worrying about saying the right thing and being funny enough, and we're all doing the same thing. Like no one has this solved except for people like Eckhart Tolle. Like he is fully separated from his DMN, he has figured it
Yeah.
out. But for all the rest of us, it can feel so isolating when you're in these thoughts and you can feel like you're the only one that doesn't feel like they fit in. But then when you realize 99% of the people in the room also feel like they're just struggling to fit in, it can ease a lot of that anxiety.
I love when you just said that they don't feel like they fit in. And like you're all the same way and you all don't know that, but and the other thing too is safe space as well. Like when you start to really engage with other people in this subject or this area alone, you'll tend to find that a lot of people have the same thoughts. And the great thing about this show is that I've had several people on here that's seen somebody else's and they're like, hey man, I relate. So that's one of the things I do tell people when they come on here to share their stories and things like that. I'm like, listen, just so you know, somebody is going to see this, somebody's going to hear this, and you're going to find that one person that connects with you on some level, and then watch. You're just going to watch it blossom to more people that go around, and it's crazy because a lot of us are just doing the same thing. We're all thinking in our internal dialogue of going, oh, okay, well, am I going to fit in? And then when you start to find people that are like-minded, then you start creating your own safe space, which is great because that's what this podcast is about. It's about mental health, safe space for somebody to come in here can say whatever they need to say, and it's completely guarded. I don't allow anybody to do anything else. They can say whatever they need to say, share their story, no matter how crazy the story is. We've had a couple moments where it's gotten wild on this thing, but that's what you get into when you come into this. And then like it's interesting to hear people's internal dialogue as they're talking about things, all the negative talks and negative thoughts they have. Especially people that have suicidal ideation, though, too. It's interesting to hear when they start talking about what is the real problem. Because if you get them talking, you've already winning a battle right there because at least they're talking to you. Because some of them won't even say anything to you. And then unfortunately, they become a negative statistic that we don't want. I'd rather them come talk to us and say something. But I think when it comes to that subject, too, it's like when people hear that, it's just they shudder in and they're like, oh, no. It's a negative thing. We can't talk about this, but really we can. It's okay to talk about things.
Oh, 100%. And actually, there's a huge call out in the book and it goes on for like a few pages, but both the editor and I were like, we need to keep it in because it's so important
Yeah.
because suicidal thoughts are an extreme of the fitting in theme. So there are three themes.
Mm-hmm.
We can go over the other two. Fitting in is number one. So you've nailed that on the head. And you can hear it in the language. So it's I
Yeah.
don't belong here. People are
Mm-hmm.
better off without me. It's all of this talk around there is a clan and I just have received enough contextual information and data from the outside that says I don't fit in the clan. And so instead of waiting around to get kicked out, the person's brain essentially kicks them out for them.
Yeah.
It's like, you should not be here anymore. And so it's an extreme of a fitting in thought. And people can give them, they carry such a stigma. They're like, I'm damaged, I'm broken, I'm never going to be okay, I'm crazy. They'll say such mean things to
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And one of the goals of the book is to say, hey, you need to know where these come from. You are not crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
you are not broken. It's just your DMN got very, very, very strong. And your DMN got some information from the outside world that made it really scared. And when it
Yeah.
got scared, it thought that it is again way back 80,000 years ago. So it doesn't have good solutions. Its solution is a really stupid one, which is I guess I can't be in the clan anymore. I got to get myself out of the clan.
Right.
And so and one of the best things we can do if we're feeling suicidal is to reach out to someone, is to have that
Mm-hmm.
connection, is to call a suicide hotline, connect with a family member, because that then provides that clan feel that will calm the DMN down a little bit. So it's not what all of that is. And I would love for us to get rid of that stigma and for
Yeah.
people to take a deep breath and be like, I am okay. Like, now I get it. It was a brain thing. It wasn't a me thing. That's
Yeah.
huge.
It is massive, actually. And like I said, when it comes to the suicide alone, it's a hard topic for people to listen to. But I mean, I think that's where the first problem begins is that people when they hear those words, they instantly panic. It's like, oh God, what am I going to do? Well, listen, the first thing they need to remember is that if this person's talking to you, you've already won in the battle already. You may not even realize it, but you're already, if you just listening to them, it's already helping them, because a lot of times they say they're not being heard. A lot of people feel like they're not wanted, they're not heard. They feel like no one knows they're there. So you acknowledging the fact that they're there saying these things to you, and you listening, you're already winning the battle without even having to do anything. You don't have to be an expert. They just want you to listen to what they're saying, and as silly as it may sound what they're saying, just like, engage it. They're like, okay, I let them know you're actively listening, because if not, they're going to just stop and be like, okay, well, never mind. I'm done talking about this. I think that's the problem too, is that people are so worried about saying the wrong thing. You don't have to say anything. Just listen to them talk, and
Just
just let them know
listen.
you know what I'm saying? Just listen. That's it.
And you
I'm
know
literally
what?
gonna make t-shirts that say "just listen" on there for people. And they're gonna ask, what does that mean? If somebody ever comes to you, tells you that they're thinking about killing themselves or have suicidal thoughts, just listen to them. That's all it means.
You know what? And they want to feel that they belong. So whatever
Exactly.
you can do to create that sense of belonging. It was a great piece of literature coming out of Brené Brown, where she's like, the opposite of fitting in, and fitting in is one of the key themes of the DMN, is
Mm-hmm.
actually belonging. And so people like, 50% of LGBTQ youth experience suicidal ideation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a statistic. It's from our like national surveys. And it means that for these individuals, they are in an environment where they feel they don't belong. They feel like they've probably been spending their entire lives trying to fit in, and their DMN is like, okay, you're not doing a great job of it. And so,
Right.
any way to help an individual belong, and that you really see them and they're perfect the way they are, they
Yeah.
don't need to change anything. Like, all of those little data points can mean the world when you're in one of those really low moments.
Yeah, I agree. But that number's scary though. 50%. Can you think of it? Half
I
of them
know.
have these thoughts. And what doesn't help is that people in society are just not okay with it. It's like, why do you care what someone else does? Like, I don't care if my dad decides to come in a dress. I don't care what he's doing. That's his own thing. If he's happy, let him be happy. That's my big thing. My brother is actually transgender. And I went through the steps with him. Like, I was there this whole journey of when he decided to transition. And it was just crazy to me that how people just get so mad. It's like, why? It's not you that it's affecting. This person's choosing to do these things. And it opened my eyes to a lot more things, because I was younger when he started doing the whole thing. And I kind of identified that he was, a little different than everybody else at first. And I noticed these things, and he's like, man, you already knew. I'm like, dude, I could already sense it, man. I could already feel it, that there's something was up, that you had something to tell everybody. And I've been his biggest cheerleader ever since, and it's been great to watch him flourish from there. But to me, it's just like, it's funny, because when it comes to it, then it's like, oh, well, I don't like them because they're like guys or something. Who cares?
I
They
know.
talking to you, or what is the other thing they say? Oh, I don't want them hitting on me, dude. Trust me, if they were interested in you, they're probably not 90% of the time.
They're
I
not
think that's
hitting
your
on
problem.
you.
Calm down there, super stud. Calm down there. And that's the
I
weird thing. It's
know.
like they all say that shit, and it makes me laugh, because I'm like, it's not even like that, dude. Like,
And
I've
so,
gone to a
and
couple clubs of that nature, and I've
it's
gone in there. It's the
not.
greatest time ever. It's the greatest time ever. I'll tell you right now, the greatest time ever I've ever had is been into an LBGQ club, because those people are just partying. They don't care. They're not judging each other. They're just having a great time.
They are in a society that where fitting in has been a challenge. And so I feel like in that population, there's a lot of authenticity
Hmm.
when you can really speak. And so it's beautiful. I mean, it's human self-expression. Let people express
Yeah.
themselves however they want. And when you find people that resist other people's choice and however they want to live, that's often them living in their DMN, and they have an idea of what the clan is, and they see someone that looks like an outgroup, and their instinct is, we need to wage war on that. And it's primitive,
Yeah.
and
And
it's Paleolithic, and it's like, and I mean, it's one way to understand why people are as unwelcoming and unaccepting as they are sometimes, is that, well, they must be really controlled by their DMNs. They must not have done a lot of self work and understanding who they really are underneath. They're probably pretty much governed by their DMNs, and they're acting like it, and it's
yeah,
ugly.
and it's crazy though, because you think about it, like Shakespearean times, women weren't allowed to act. So men had to dress up like women to play the women parts. So, like, really, this has been going on for a long time. So what's the problem now? if it was happening then, what about now? What's the problem now? All of a sudden, it's nothing different. It's just somebody choosing to dress differently than what you accept as the normal. And what
And
is the
it
norm
doesn't
anymore?
matter, What
Exactly
matters
my
is we
point,
take
Betsy. It
care of
doesn't matter,
ourselves. We need to take care of each other.
right?
We need to help our climate. We have so many other things that we really do need to be putting our attention on that, yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
that's what,
I agree.
yeah.
You said that. You said it. You hit it right on the head. What does it matter? We need to look out for each other. Think we need to be more united versus divided, because divided will fall, united we stand. And I think people forget at the end of the day, we're all humans. Like
Yeah.
we're all gonna do our own thing. What does it matter what someone else does? Like people get so fixated on everybody else's stuff. It's like, why do you care what someone does? Like, is it
I know.
affecting your day? No, then don't worry about them.
I mean, I kind of always feel like, we also share 99% of our DNA with rats. Does that, are we upset about rats? Like they're pretty we're kind of with them too. All right, let's go over the other two themes that the DMN has. So
Definitely.
first one is fitting in. Do I fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Second one is fretting. And this is
Mm-hmm.
worrying about everything. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to get
Yeah.
cancer? Am I going to be bankrupt? Am I going to die alone? It's the 2 a.m. thought and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And everyone I know is I'm going to die.
Oh my God, I'm gonna go to WebMD and start
We're
diagnosing
dying.
myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we've got that
Yes.
one. And then that's fretting. And that's any sort of worry you do. And then the
Yeah.
last one is failing, which is I'm not good enough. I can't do this.
Mhm.
It's when you feel like you're worthless and everyone else is better than you, imposter syndrome, all of
Mhm.
those kind of things. And so I really geared this book to women, and those are the three that very much come through for women. What I'd be curious about researching a little bit more is if there is another thought. I'm curious for your thoughts on this, Pete, around hierarchy. Because I feel like with a lot of male culture, it is like getting up higher on the hierarchy in order to be
Mhm.
safe. You almost need to be special and you almost need to stand out. And
Yeah,
with women,
exactly.
it's way more, we need to fit in. We need to be like everyone else. Like if someone gives us a compliment, women can feel uncomfortable and say, oh my gosh, I love your skirt too.
Yeah.
We always want to equalize, and men are always trying to one up each other.
Mhm.
And do you feel like that's kind of one of those parts of your inner monologue, is this hierarchy concept?
Yeah, because there's always this. What is it? There was always preached to be the alpha male. You got to be the alpha male. You got to be the strong person. You can't be emotional because that makes you weak. And it's like then you're trying to always one up each other. It's like, oh well, I did this and then I did that. And I have a brother that's like that. Like no matter what you say, this guy has to stack the next thing higher. And it's almost like when your kids you play the back thing where you're just putting your hands on the top and then you get to the top. He's like, I got to be the top piece always. It doesn't matter. And it's crazy though, because like you said, with women, it's like they all want to fit in. And you notice that if you watch a lot of these chick flicks, as you would say, a lot of people would say, you watch them, that's usually what it is. It's like Mean Girls is the first one I'm thinking of when you said that. Because you know how like Regina was the be all everything, and Katie wanted to fit in with everybody. So she started dressing the same way to fit in with them instead of just being herself. And when it comes to males, it's like Gladiator. Oh, you got to be the top guy, or all these other things. Like you got to be do the most show, be like a peacock. You got to show off the most just to be more seen more by other people. And then, when it comes to the compliment thing, though, it's like sometimes when guys compliment women, they just like go completely off the rails on it because they've had so many negative experiences with other males, because some guys just don't know how to act. I'm sorry, ladies, but some of us just don't know how to act right. They see a pretty girl, start acting foolish, and it's just like their brains go straight to their asses, I like to say, because it's like, I'm sorry, I can't apologize enough for these guys, because it's like they don't know how to act. They don't treat them like a female. They put them on a pedestal and all this other weird stuff they like to do, because it's that whole hierarchy system that we use, because we got to be the top dog or the alpha male. We got to be so much this, and so many guys look up to other people. Oh, I got to look at why he's successful, but maybe look at his journey, because he's probably been right where you're at in the beginning and taken off. And the thing with failure too is that a lot of these guys failed a lot of times when it comes to things, but that happens. Sometimes you got to fail to succeed, and realize that hey, this didn't work, but this is working better, kind of thing.
Well, to me, if hierarchy is coming out of the DMN, and the DMN was the one that was establishing this as our biggest thing was who is the most successful at going out and hunting the mammoth.
Hmm.
maybe it's time for us to stop thinking about hierarchy. Maybe it's time for us to relook at those DMN thoughts, which are just
Right.
automatically hitting us, and think maybe these are evolutionarily like not appropriate for the day and age we live in anymore. We don't
Yeah.
need a hierarchy anymore. It's way more important that we collaborate than it is to be the big man. And there's
Exactly.
so many times we've gotten into trouble with someone trying to be the big man and trying to take power and take control. I mean, I look at all of the geopolitical things going on, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, if we could get out of this caveman brain,
Hmm.
we could make things a lot better for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's crazy that we evolve everything else, but we can't evolve our own infrastructure of our thought process of this hierarchy need, instead of working together, which would make more sense and stronger, make us stronger. But we don't like that. No, no, we like to have conflict for some reason. We just like to argue about things, and politics in general too. It's just like both sides want to argue. Everybody's got to be right, but instead of working together for the better outcome, oh no, we have to prove we're right or we're wrong, and it's just like y'all are making my head hurt.
Yeah, but
And, and things that
if you're spending like 80% of your time in your DMN and you think it's you, then you will feel that that is the enemy.
yeah,
Because we adopt those thoughts. We believe them. We're like, this is how I truly feel. And like that person is different and it upsets me. I really feel that way. And that's where I want this science to get out there as much as possible, because it's great for people to take a moment and say, oh, automatic evolutionary thought. You know what it reminds me of is, the really good TikToks and Instagrams where someone scares someone and then you watch the crazy way that their body reacts. They're like, ah, and they freak out, like they have a reflex.
right.
Well, this is a reflex too, like
Yeah,
this is exactly like that. And we just laugh. We're like, ha ha ha. If someone like spontaneously burps and it's huge and it makes all of us laugh, this should make us laugh too. We should have it in exactly that same place of like, this is one of those funky parts of having a human hardware and human body, and ha ha ha. And then actually go in to do what we authentically truly want to do.
yeah. And social media is great though. I think it's bad at the same time because a lot of misinformation floats around, and then you got these people, and then it's like you have these guys, and some of these videos are funny as hell. They crack me up. Are the ones with the different workers and things like that, because you get the mindsets of what they're thinking of, and it's like, oh yeah, I got to be better than this person, or the office snitch comes in, and has got to tell on everybody, and I'm just like, why, why do we got to do these kind of things, guys? Let's stick together here. And at the end of the day, it's like it's great, everything evolves, but why can't we evolve like as a person? Like let's adapt a new thought process. Clearly this isn't working. How many times do we got to keep falling off this tower of, stacking man up, and then women, the ladies like trying to fit in,
Yeah.
and I think the thing is the problem is that guys are too sensitive. Like I love when I meet people that have content that's driven toward women, because I actually just finished reading this book. I was targeted to people like a woman that wrote a memoir about her breast cancer journey, and I told people I was reading this book, and Betsy, you should have seen the responses I got. They all looked at me weird. What's the book called? Oh, it's the mastectomy I've always wanted. And they're staring at me, looking at me like, "What are you reading that for?" I'm like, "Well, first off, the author sent it to me, so I'm gonna read it because why not? I'm interested to know why not. What is so wrong with me getting a better idea of what people think of, especially from the female perspective side. It's always great to see how the other side goes. And I was just curious, and like the looks I got just from the book name alone just cracked me up because I'm like, they're like, oh, they're all excited to talk about it, and then they're like, oh, never mind. When soon that time comes out, oh, never mind. Okay, never. It's like, what's wrong, guys? What's so wrong with us discussing stuff that just happens? It happens for them on that side, Maybe we better understand how the other side thinks. Maybe we'll have less conflicts with, with ladies about certain things. Like we can at least be more sensitive to the things they're dealing with. And Erica wrote this book, and it's like you're watching this journey, and it's hard. Like you get to the back half of this book, and it's just like the pictures are just like, holy Lord. Like there's everything there, just bare. And you see the scarring, and it looks like Frankenstein, is what she said. She looked like these Frankenstein like scar things, and it's just like I was describing this to another man, and he was just looking at me weird, like, "And why are you reading this book again? Why not? What is
Yeah.
so wrong with me wanting to understand a lot more mindsets, And it's like I think people are scared of learning new things when it doesn't apply to just strictly males or strictly females. It's like there's nothing wrong with understanding your partner's side of the theory, especially because it applies to anybody with cancer. Like you get an idea of their mindset. And it makes it a little more calming for those people because you'll have a better understanding if there were a situation you came across or somebody else came across. And at the same time, it gives people gives them an idea of what this looks like, because that was her goal all along, was just to give it a picture of what it looks like, and just because you're not female doesn't mean you still can't relate to this woman's thoughts.
That is so cool. And there is something that is innately fascinating about the human experience in
Hmm.
however it is. And whether it's a mastectomy, whether it's a paralysis journey,
Yeah.
like watching the Christopher Reeves documentary
Hmm.
was shocking, of everything they went through and what that process was. I mean, it's the human experience. It's not men versus women, and we're all in
Exactly.
this together. If the male DMN is so focused on like rising in the hierarchy, I can see it saying, I don't need to know about that other stuff. I need to stay in my lane, and I need to become more special or become
Yeah.
better. And I can see where it would stop people from looking up things and learning about different perspectives, because it's so focused on trying to get to the top so it doesn't get kicked out.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. I just makes me laugh when I'm telling you, I was just telling people about the name of it, and as soon as these guys saw it, they were just like, they scrunched up. They're like, "Oh, never mind. This is something I don't want to talk about." I'm like, "Why not, dude? What's wrong with you? It's an interesting book so far. I've enjoyed it. It's great. They had the great like poems in it and things like that too." And it's like anytime guys get this sense that we're talking about something that they consider feminine, it's like, okay, now we got to start harassing each other about it, give each other crap about it, and it's just like, why?
How do you think we move the male culture forward?
You know, I just think they need to be more open-minded, honestly. I'll be honest with you right now. Like be accepting of checking things out. Like, it just, if you're curious, go look into it. Don't let somebody else stop you from wanting to know more. So if something that they say is targeted towards women a little more, just because you're not female doesn't mean you can't educate yourself on the situation, because you never know. What if you run into a situation where this is something you learned about and you know how, hey, listen, I read this great book, and then just start citing some stuff that you've seen. What is so wrong with that? I feel like, we as males like to give each other a hard time about everything. We call everything feminine, or we like to call each other sissies because we can't talk about our emotions, because we're not programmed like that, because our grandfathers or whatever else have always told us, you have to be the strong one in the family. You can't have any emotions, but when everybody has emotions, everybody has feelings. And when it comes to feelings, a lot of times guys don't want to talk about their feelings because then they feel weak, because this whole mindset that we've been programmed that we've got to be the alpha male. The alpha male can't show emotion. What you're doing is evolving as a person, because now you're more accepting to other things, and you understand, you have a little more empathy towards other people and understand what they're going through. And you can go up to somebody and say, hey, listen, man, I know what you're going through. I've been there. And right there, you're making a connection with somebody, versus just kind of like showing them away and being like, no, he's being a sissy. I can't deal with this guy right now. He's showing too much weakness for me. But I think that's what they're scared of, is that all around person coming up the tower and knocking them off the rings as they go, because, oh no, I got to be the stronger male because I can overpower and intimidate them. But when this other person starts making their way up, like, you can't stop them now, because they already know all this extra knowledge and everything else, and they're more in tune with their feelings and things like that. Like, there's an unstoppable person. I think that's what their kryptonite would be. They're scared that this person's going to come back and change everything, and which that's the change we got to make, though. We should be
Wh-
more
what it
united versus
sounds like,
divided.
yeah, and it sounds like a big game that you guys
Mm-hmm.
are all playing, and that
It
it's
is.
and what you say, how you act, all of it
Mm-hmm.
plays into this game
Mm-hmm.
of who's where, and none of that is how any of you are truly feeling, truly experiencing, truly so I don't hear the space for your authentic self to come out on who you really
Oh
are.
no. Oh no. Non-males? No, no, no. They don't like that. They don't like you being authentic, because I think that's what scares them, is that the change. I think it's the change, really honestly what it is, because we're so used to being programmed to think one way, that change just scares us all the time, because we're afraid that it's a change, but we don't know if it's gonna be a good or bad change. And and I think that's where guys, I think a lot of them stop, is because a lot of these younger guys that I met a younger kid, actually, honestly, here, he's like 18. I told him about what I do, and I did with this podcast. He was so interested in what I do. And it was so fascinating to see that these younger guys are so interested in what I talk about, because a lot of them are like, hey, did you have an episode today? I'm like, yeah, I met this person today. This is what we were talking about. They're so interested to know. So it gives me hope that hopefully we are turning a corner somewhere with some of these younger guys and teaching them that it's okay to talk about these things, or have feelings, or, be sympathetic to the other side, and not have to put on a macho persona all the time, and not try and knock everybody down a peg, but, more like try to uplift each other as a team. Guys love sports, why not be a team? Like, we want to be a part of the team. Let's be a team. Why not? Let's work together. Because my mom used to make this joke all the time. She's like, oh, well, there goes the male clan again. You guys got to stick together and things like that. And she's not wrong, though, because think about it. We all got to go in there, show a power, who's the powerful one is, and everybody follows the pack leader kind of thing. And that pack mentality happens. And it's funny to laugh at, but it's really how it works, though, is because, hey, who's the strongest alpha male? We're following them instead of working together as a team, building things together and uplifting each other. We like to take constant jabs at each other for no reason when we don't have to.
Well, and it sounds like the DMN is super strong in saying you're going to get kicked out. And in male culture, you will. I mean, there's probably 100% valid in the DMN to say danger, danger. Like,
exactly.
Which is really too bad. There was I went to a mental health event with Here For You clothing, and they pretty much, it's here for you, and it's just spread awareness of mental health. They're fabulous. Yeah. And this wonderful, to me, as a kid, he's like 21 years old, got up and he's like, this was my journey. And he kept saying, and I know this is weak, and I had to say,
right there it is.
The strongest thing you could ever do is share. First of all, acknowledge what you're going through, acknowledge what you're thinking and feeling, and share it with others. Like, there's nothing stronger.
Exactly.
And here you are saying it's weak, and it's literally the exact opposite. And everyone like clapped and screamed, because, to try to get that mentality, that DMN feeling of, okay, I'm going to be weak. I'm weak. No, like, shut that DMN up. Yeah. It's put it in a loincloth and like respect what your journey has been and how far you've come and how strong you are to not have to just play act a male DMN role, but you're actually truly being you. That is very cool.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. 21, and it's that honest. That's what gives me hope about the future of these younger generation guys, that we can teach them now and get them in the right mindset and stop this Jenga like tower we're doing here to see which one falls over first, kind of thing, because it's not getting us anywhere. It's making it worse. We're dividing for no reason, because we can't admit that, it's okay to be human and have emotions like everybody else has. And then for them to talk about it, that's powerful enough. Like I said, this show has connected so many different people that have come on and said, hey, I saw somebody else's story. Now I want to come tell mine and inspire somebody else. And we actually had a girl on last Thursday. She was telling her story. And Betsy, when I say a roller coaster, this girl's thing was going up, down, up, down. I was like, oh, there was a gentleman that was listening that was over in the UK and invited her to come over and share her story. And all she was doing, sharing her story. She didn't have to do anything else. She was just being real her, just giving out her real story. This is what I went through. These are the things I dealt with. And it was so powerful to see. And I told her, I said, I guarantee somebody is going to see this and they're going to respond. And boom, there he was right there. Someone else had told this gentleman that this podcast was going on. And he came in and said, hey, listen, so-and-so told me to come check this out. I want you to come talk on my show in the UK to some of these young ladies about what you were dealing with. I think it'd be truly inspiring. And right there, boom, if you get one person on board, that's it. You've already won the battle alone.
Totally. 100%. That's very cool.
It is. It's been great. Like I said, this has been a great thing. In the beginning, it was like, how far can this go? If I looked at it back then and told you where I'm now, I would never even think I would be this far into this. When I started out, like I said, it was one day a week I did it. And then in the beginning of the year, I was like, you know what? Let's see what we really can come up with. So I opened the calendar up. And I've just been meeting new people every day, just new things I'm getting. And I love it because it's filling that thirst for knowledge, and it's setting me down different paths. And I'm going on a journey of self-discovery, and everybody's with me too. It's all being recorded too. So people are watching me document my self-discovery as I'm going through this journey from where I started to where I am now. And I've met so many cool people along the way. I get to meet great people like yourself that are very informative about your subjects and areas that you're in. And now, like, when I go after this conversation, I'll start looking at a lot of other stuff too, because it's like, now I want to know more, because like, what else can I know?
and it's like that, my thing to everybody else, if anybody takes anything away from this episode, is that be yourself. Like,
Yeah.
fulfill that knowledge, man. Like, don't be afraid to be authentic. Like, Betsy and I are talking about, like, that 20-year-old gentleman came on there talking about himself. Like, be that person right there that inspires somebody else of a younger generation or now to be themselves. Because if you inspire one person, you're going to cause change, and it's going to spread like wildfire. And that's even better, because then we are building a stronger community, and we won't be so divided by, okay, well, this is the machos and this is the people that are in tune with their emotions and understand things and have empathy towards other people. Let's stop all that nonsense, because it's ridiculous. I think it's time for a change, and it's called to action, that we need to start being better humans to each other versus males and females. It's like, and we need to come together and start treating each other with respect, and respect the fact that other people have different views than you do, whether they're gay, straight, bi, whatever they choose, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Let them do them. Let them live the greatest life they live. Just tell them, hey, more power to you. Kudos. You go and get that. You know what I mean? Let's uplift each other. Let's stop being so negative to each other, because at the end of the day, where's that negativity getting us? Nowhere. It's dividing us. We're causing fights over stupid things. And at the end of the day, you look foolish because you're fighting over nothing, because you want to be approved. You're the macho male. Okay, cool. You're the big dog now. What now? You look like a fool because you're like King Kong on top of the building over there. And then you're going to fall off, and then we're all going to just laugh at you. And then the next person will go up there.
What's really cool about the story too that I love is, so she told her story. She was wildly authentic, and it resonated. And then the UK picked it up, and it's like the 21-year-old I was listening to. I mean, I got tingles when he was talking, because it was like, this is real. So I think we know when someone's being authentic, and we want more.
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely.
I think we've all been stuck in this DMN land, and we've all had our gender roles and everything like that. And it's really cool to watch the people. And it's so powerful when they break through and they show up with authenticity, and people just want more and more and more of it. So hopefully we are in the start of that shift, and we can get away from play acting, because who wants to listen to that crap, and actually really talking to each other for real on how we really feel. And
like I said, awesome. That's the great thing with this podcast, is that we have real conversations here. Like, everybody I bring on is real. And like, I've canceled on people before. If I get a feeling like, I'm like, I don't know if you're fitting in what we're trying to do here. If I feel at any point, I feel it reading through some of their stuff, if they're not authentic, I'm like, no, sorry. I'm sorry. With all due respect, you're just not fitting what I'm doing. And I do it very politely. It's just, you know what? I'll reschedule you at a later time. It's because I'm trying to keep the authenticity here. Like, this is a real conversation here. I want to have real conversation with real people. And it's great having experts that come on and share their stuff, because they get great tips from other people and things like that. And everybody that's been on this show leaves and goes, oh my God, dude, you have to go do this. This is the greatest experience I did. I went on Pete's podcast. I shared my story, and now they just can't stop talking about it all day. Like, oh my God, I went on there, and it was the greatest thing ever. It felt so good to see that somebody's seen this and things like that. And then other people are like, oh yeah, now I want to come do it. Now I want to come do it. And things like that. It's great when I hear that somebody is that excited after being on here. I tell them all the same thing too. I'm like, they're all nervous at first. Like, I had a young lady a week ago on Monday named Wanda. She was a perfect example of this. She was really kind of off edge at first, but then when she opened up, her personality was so bubbly. People were just loving it. And I was like, Wanda, I just want to let you know something. You were tied the most people viewing at any personal time. She had 10 viewers, and she tied the other girl, Whitney, who was being just completely genuine. And I was like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, just be you. That's all you do. And everybody asks me, what do you do when you come on? Just be you. That's all you got to be. That's all people want is just you. Just be real, because people can read between the lines of fact and crap. They'll know if you're trying to give them a story and you're fabricating this, but the authenticity is what they love. They'll feed off that, and they love it. And you'll see, and like I said, the viewer count just kept going up. We're going 9. I'm like, you're at 8 right now. I just kept signaling to her on the screen. I'm like, I'm like, I'm just going to like this. She goes, you got 10. I'm like, I said, let me just tell you, you just tied you're the tied with the most people ever viewed at what time that we've been doing this recording on a Monday. And she was like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, you're just being yourself, and see how well it's going. And she's now doing a video log of dealing with BPD. I'm like, I think you should do it. I think you should empower yourself to show people what it's like to deal with these things. Like, people could read this thing in a book all day, but what does it look like when someone actually deals with it? And I said, I think you're going to find other people that are having the same thing you are, and you'll find a stronger community of people just coming to uplift you. And all the positivity in these videos that she's getting are so great. People are like, oh man, this is awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, because it's so real. You can see the emotion, and she's crying on the camera and things like that. And she's like, she at first thought was like, oh, I don't want to talk negative. You're not being negative. You're being genuine. People are seeing this as what you really deal with every day. And it gives a face to this thing. So when people hear the words, they're like, okay, well, I saw Wanda's videos. Okay, I got an idea now, a little more empathy of what it is. So now I understand a little more of what these guys are dealing with on a daily basis, And I had somebody on the show too that she's a musician, $635,000. Just so she's widely known. She admitted she had BPD, and I was telling her about Wanda's story. And I was like, hey, listen, there's somebody I want you to meet. This girl has BPD. She's doing this video log thing. I said, I would love for you to go check it out and see what you think. What do you think of the idea? She said, I absolutely love it. And I was like, wow, for her to say that. And she's like, well, what's her thing? You got a link for her thing? I'll go check it out. I'm like, and that's all I do is I try to connect people. So I always constantly connecting different people with things. I'm always suggesting other people different podcasts because I want to keep the conversation going. I love it when I meet these people such as yourself and other things. Because by the way, when we're done talking here, I got about 3 other podcasts I'm going to suggest you to that you can go talk to them about these stuff because I feel like, people like yourself need to get out there more. And I want more people to meet you. I'm like, hey, check out Betsy. You got to meet Betsy. She's great. The conversation is great. She can hold she's very informative. And stuff like that. And I always take every opportunity I meet somebody as an opportunity to network with somebody else and to share them with other people. And then they'll do the same thing. And then it'll just keep going and keep going and keep going. So don't be surprised to hear my name come up. Hey, People's Anxiety told me to come check you out, Betsy. Would you like to be on the show type thing? And I have a group of people I talk to and things like that all the time. So it's so great that you came. I've really been enjoying this conversation. It's been making my brain going all over the place. I love it.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. And, I feel like we always all feel so alone in our own internal experience, and our DMN loves to make us feel that way, that we're the only ones that have gone through it. And so that's so powerful that your friend that shared her BPD experience and then another BPD person. I mean, we all have these same experiences. And so when we start to open up and share about them and realize how not alone we are, that is power.
It is. And it was so fascinating when I learned about it originally. It was from a coworker who had it. And then she slowly started telling me a little more about it. So I said, so can I ask you a question? And she's like, yeah. I was like, I'm asking strictly because I want to know. I said, can you explain it to me a little more about what it's like for you to go through a day? She's like, and she was telling me about hers. And then when Lucy was on the show, which is the woman that was the musician, she was telling us about it. And she was like telling her perspective. And then Wanda obviously had a different perspective. And it was great because I was just like, it's so fascinating to me that different people have different things. Like we could read the book, the symptoms all day in the book, but it doesn't mean everybody has the same thing. And that's great when they come on and they start talking about it and they started talking about these things. And a lot of them feel empowered because after that, it's like somebody there's going to hear that and be like, hey, man, I'm going to reach out to this person. And then you start connecting and just, and I had one girl when I was live on TikTok just hanging out, one time she came in and now she's one of the biggest supporters of the show. And she, shout out to Ashley. She's a great person. I met her randomly. She came in one day, said, having a bad day, came in and was just talking to me. And little did she know where this thing was going to go from. And then now Ashley does like mental health Thursday. She'll go in there and talk about mental health because she's like, well, I met Pete. Now I kind of want to do the same thing. Pete, what do you think about this idea? And it's great to watch people be inspired by me to go do things because all I'm doing is having a conversation about the topic that people claim is being talked about, but I don't think it's being talked about enough in the right sense. Like we could sit and drill you with questions all day, but that's not great. A platonic conversation like we're having, it goes so much further because it's so much better because it's two people having a conversation, not one person drilling another person with questions.
Absolutely. And so it's providing connection and it's providing realness and it's providing an understanding of what is really going on with all of us.
Exactly.
And it feels so good. It's so freeing.
It does. It does. And, Betsy, as we get ready to start wrapping up, I just want to say I am absolutely looking forward to the book. I really want to check it out now. It's on my listing. I've got it off here and probably pre-ordered ahead of time because I'm like, yeah, I got to get this book now because I'm like, I'm kind of curious. I want to read it and know more because I feel like it's just going to open another whole avenue of me to go down and just keep giving that thirst of knowledge I really want because it's so great and, and things like that. And it's great to have conversations with people like yourself because I love the way that you talk about stuff because you break it down for them to understand, but you give them the technical side of it too. And it's so easy for people to digest, and it doesn't have to be like all just straight technical jargon the whole way through. It's like, oh no, let me explain to you, this is what it is. And I'll break it down for you, what it really means to you. And it makes more sense. And then people can connect the one and the other.
Yeah. And the book is helpful. It's got a lot of exercises. It has a lot of information on how to stop the DMN, like both small ways and big ways. It talks about when the DMN won't shut up. and it talks about how to like live in a different, what to connect with instead. Cause like, it's really weird when you start to disconnect from the DMN. It's because it's taken up so much of your time that you're like, wait, who am I? Like, if I'm not this voice, who the hell am I actually? And so it speaks to that as well. So yeah, that'd be wonderful. Go out, get it, everyone.
Definitely.
It's a fun read.
It's coming out when? In June, you said it's coming out?
June 1st, wherever books are available, Amazon, of course, Barnes & Noble, etc.
Okay, so Betsy, let's start wrapping up. Where can they find you? Like, do you use a lot of social medias? I know you have a website. I know you have your Instagram. I have it all down in the bio, but it's better coming from you than me.
Yeah, so there is my website, betsyholmberg.com. I am on social. Go follow. I'm going to try to start posting more. I've never been a big social media fan. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a journey for me. So, but I will put all my news up there. So go ahead and follow me and go check the book out. You
should definitely consider TikTok. I know people hate it. At the same time, I don't think people realize once the algorithm picks up what you're trying to do, oh man, just watch these people come flowing in because they're going to see that and be like that. And they're like, oh, heck yeah, I like what she's saying. And then you'll just start getting people showing up that just coming to see what you've got and things like that. And they'll start sharing it with other people. And it's great to connect to other people, and it's so easy just to, post something on there, something about, whatever, or clips of stuff like that. It's just crazy because that's where I meet a lot of these people too, is I meet a lot of them on TikTok. We just all get together and then we have a sense of community now. And we're all the same way. We all feel about mental health the same way and things like that. And it's great. And every time I tell people TikTok, they're like, oh, I don't like TikTok. I'm like, I think you're looking at it from the wrong aspect. Use it to your advantage. Don't let it own you, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get on there and I will follow you.
Oh, definitely. Because you can follow me and I will share you out to everybody. I'll tell them all to go check you out and things like that. So let's wrap up this episode, Pete, for tonight. Obviously, Betsy, thank you so much for coming. This was a phenomenal conversation. If you like, we will have you come back when the book comes out. We can talk more about the book, and that you kind of promote it for everybody, things like that. If you'd like to come back, I would gladly have you come back.
Cool. Wonderful.
So it's definitely an invite for you to come back. It'll definitely be a great time. I'm 100%. I'm think it's going to be a fantastic conversation, just like this one was. All right, guys, this is going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. You guys know where to find, basically, like we said, I'm on TikTok all the way down to X. I'm on Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio, guys. And like I always say, it costs nothing. Absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do could save somebody's life. Hell, you can even make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety signing out saying, hey, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.